I'm going to tell a bunch of stories, and I, at first, don't expect that they're going to have any connection at all. And then in the end, I'm going to try to bring them together. The first story is in 1975, and I'm a teacher of biology and chemistry in Roxbury High School in Boston. And I find out that the local subway line, which is elevated at the time, is going to be put underground. And the local huge subway terminal bus station called Dudley Station is auctioning off various storefronts to the community because over the next 10 years, they're going to dismantle it. No more investment. So I'm probably one of the only teachers in the country who's ever bid and won. For $1, I got a barbershop. And the barbershop, I needed the barbershop because a couple of months before that, my roommate at medical school had one of my students arrive in an ambulance who had never really had any medical care in his life. And he tells me this, and I'm teaching biology, and he says, you know, you really ought to teach your kids some practical stuff because too many of kids in your neighborhood that we are teaching don't have good medical care, but it's free. And if they only knew about it, they could have better wellness. So see what you can do. So the barbershop was this great location in the center of the community, and I sent kids out to all the hospitals, all the health centers. They gathered information left and right, and we turned the barbershop into a health information neighborhood center. After school, kids would sign up, march down. I marched with them 3 blocks from the school, and we had a blast handing out information to probably thousands of people from our barbershop. Played music, ran ads, and it was just an absolute blast. That was in 1975. And then I learned from that if you give kids involvement in the community along with their schooling, if it goes hand in hand, and you can make meaning out of what they're learning in class, if you have them involved in the community after class. Years later, I am teaching at Lexington High School, a phenomenally different environment than Roxbury High School. And I am given a computer lab and told to invent anything I want, any computer course I want at all. At the time, the only thing they taught was programming, including Pascal, Basic, and Logo. Do you remember those days? The days when all you did was teach programming. At the time, my roommate was a Harvard Business School professor who told me, don't teach programming. What you really need to do is imagine that software is coming and the internet's coming. And what you really need to do is teach critical thinking and problem solving, not any particular technology, because they're short term. And so I took his advice and I designed a course called Community Problem Solving with Technology, based after the barbershop. And so all my students were asked to go out in the world and find a real problem to solve first. Then we'll figure out what technologies you need to learn later. The reverse, basically, of what we do today. And so one of my students, I'll tell you this one story, she had a disabled friend and in a wheelchair, and she found out that there was no yellow pages for handicapped people in Greater Boston. So she decided her project was going to be, similar to the barbershop, organize this massive amount of information. It turned out to be 97 agencies providing service to the disabled across Greater Boston. And she built a database. And in '94, I had some business connections, and that went online in 1984. I get a call a couple of weeks later from a professor at Boston University Medical School saying that one of his interns is working at an agency, and my student's database shows up, linking all the agencies together online. They had never seen anything like this. And in fact, could he come and meet with my high school student who built the database? And I said, well, I'm very busy. It's the end of the school year. He said, I don't want to meet with you. I want to meet with your student. And I kind of had to take a retake there. Yeah, that was a moment. And you know, how often does a professor call and ask to meet with one of your students? So the guy comes in. He brings a couple of his master's students in public health. One of them had experienced the database. And they offer her a job. They want to know if during the summer, this is springtime, during the summer, if she would run a seminar teaching his students how to design databases for the handicapped. And they want to take it across Massachusetts and into upstate New York. They want to greatly expand it. They offer her a pretty good salary. She says she'll take the job, but not the salary. No money. And I'm saying, take the money. Take the money. And she's saying, no money. And afterwards, I talked to her and I said, why didn't she take the money? That was a lot of, and she needed the money. She said, that's my project. They're helping me build on my project. I should be paying them. So she taught me a lot about dignity and integrity of work.